Welcome back to Don's Life. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining today. We're working again with Putco to bring to you another install. You're probably aware of the Freedom Blade installed in my GMC Sierra. It's a standout item and it's been solid. However, today we have a next level install for a new product, introducing the Excalibur. We are installing this today and I can tell you it is not your ordinary tailgate light bar. Let's go. You probably noticed this isn't my GMC, but I promise we'll get to that. Let me give you a preview of what we're working with. So its triple molded design makes it fit perfectly, contours properly to the factory tailgate. So it's full width, zero gaps, and you don't have that annoying obstruction that comes with putting a tailgate light bar in here. There's also a custom Macrolon lens that diffuses the light properly so you have no LED hotspots. And in true Putco fashion, you know they do something special, but we have 6 functions of LEDs. We have brake signals, turn signals, a running lamp, we have hazards, we have reverse, and we also have animation. There's many ways to program this as well. I'll show you all those details after we get it installed. Putco's gone ahead to make sure that the red and the white light output matches the factory output perfectly. And I know you'll love the reverse lights because they cast 8,000 lumens of light downward at your driveway. In true Don's Life fashion, I want to give you an overview of all the parts we'll be installing, so as we go through the install, you'll probably have less questions. So starting with the Excalibur itself, it mounts to the tailgate. These wires are going to run within the tailgate. They're going to attach to the driver box. The driver box is going to have all of this long wiring, go all the way up to the battery in the engine bay, and we are going to connect it to the battery, and this is going to go to an accessory fuse. Then the driver box is going to connect over here to the plug and play harness, which connects to your left and right tail lights. They also give you a bunch of cable ties and some extra things that I'll show you as we go through the installation. They give you the installation manual, and optionally, you can get a remote control to make the programming a little easier. But in this video, we're going to do the manual programming method because that's what everyone's gonna get if they were to purchase one of these. So let's talk about this Ford Raptor. This is actually my neighbor's 2023 Ford F-150 Raptor. He was gracious enough to donate it to me for this install. Why? Well, because this product is available for newer F-150s. But the good news is the GMC Sierra and Chevy Silverado Multi-Pro tailgate version is under development, and you know the moment that drops, I'll be doing an install. So let the install get underway. Let's start with an 8mm socket and remove the left and the right taillight. Next, you'll take the plug and play harness. You'll fish it underneath behind the bumper with one end coming through this cavity and the other end coming through this cavity. Now just make all of your connections. Just using the ratchet at the end so I don't over tighten them. Now, not all F-150s are going to have the same trim level. So this one here, the inner tailgate skin, which we're going to remove, uses 13 bolts with a T30 hex head. Next, we have to loosen the tailgate handle by taking off 2 nuts hidden in behind here on this tailgate. Now we just need to pry this out a little bit so we can get some wires in there. I'm just going to put some tape there for extra protection. That should be good. Now let's get the mounting area perfectly clean. I'm using isopropyl alcohol at 70%. Now we want to feed these cables up into the cavity to that side. My camera woman's just double checking alignment here before I press this down. You want to make sure that the handle is put in part way so you can make sure that it's high enough, because you want this contour here to fit perfectly. So you should have this little gap here, but we're going to address that shortly. Now in some versions of this install, you actually remove the entire handle and they give you these gaskets that you can put in there. I don't think it's going to be necessary. I inspected the edges of this handle here and it looks like it's going to seal up properly. Plus we have a little piece that we put in here that helps bridge this gap and make it look like a factory install. Now we'll just tighten up the handle. So next you're supposed to peel off this backing here and then adhere this somewhere inside the tailgate. But with this Ford Raptor, you can see that it has the lining within it. So that's not going to be the best thing to stick to. As well as there's so many things in here that we don't really have a nice flat spot with this big of an opening that we can stick this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cable tie it to this brace right here and it won't go anywhere. Now we connect the driver box to the Excalibur and then we'll tuck our wires in behind there. Easy, just match up all the fittings. You can't really get it wrong. Now so they don't rattle around, I'm going to cable tie them to an existing harness. Next we need to feed the wiring that comes out of the driver box out the hole in the bottom of the tailgate and then through the hole behind the bumper so everything can get under the truck to make our connections. However, I tried using a grabber tool, but this specific tailgate has all kinds of chambers and things in the way, so I wasn't able to get this through. So I'm going to use my tried and true piece of wire, which I've already got fished through here. Just put a flashlight at the end and then follow the light. It actually works pretty good, but we are ready to pull these wires through and drop them down. All right, we're done with all that nonsense. Now we can put our cover back on. It actually wasn't so bad. Battery died. Just kidding. I sure like this feature. Now we'll pop the hood because we have a fuse to tap. And we've got to connect to our battery. I'm just passing a coat hanger down here so you can see where it's going to pop out, and we'll tuck up our wires behind that fender well. Now is the dirtiest part. Here's me finding a way to pass the wiring through a long section of the frame. Good news, I was able to find a pretty decent portion to do this. Avoiding the exhaust pipes is extremely important. For the rest of the wiring, I just wanted to make sure that I could cable tie it up nice, neatly, and secure. The goal was to attach these wires to my strategically placed coat hanger. With some assistance from my helper, we were able to pull the wiring up through the firewall without an issue. And in the end, all we could hope for was a clean looking installation. So now we're going to tap the fuse that's going to be turned on when the vehicle is on. They recommend a couple different places in the instruction manual. Every fuse box is potentially going to be laid out differently. This is a Raptor, so we've determined that we're going to pull this fuse right here, location 100. It's a 15 amp. This is for the left headlight relay for the LED headlights. We're going to relocate it into this fuse tap here, so it'll still be active to protect the headlight circuit. But then this is also borrowing some current so we can run the new Excalibur light bar. Now we should just be able to plug it back in here. That seems secure. So now we're going to hook up the battery wire to the positive terminal. I'm going to feed it through the little cover here, just so it looks a little better. And we'll tuck all this extra wire away once we're done. But there's a nice 11mm bolt here that we're going to use. Perfect. Now we'll attach the negative to this side. Now that that's all secured, I'm just going to tuck the extra wires in behind the fuse panel off to the side here. Well, right next to the battery is going to do. Should be done with the front. Now we just have to connect these weather lock connectors, the 4-pin connector, to these ones here from the plug-and-play harness. But first we're going to use a little bit of dielectric grease on the 4-pin harness, just because these things over time can let a little bit of moisture in there, and we want all the help we can get. I'll just work it in there a bit with my gloves. Something will be better than nothing. There we go. Okay, now these wires here are for our setup and programming. Now everybody's favorite part, the programming. So we are going to turn the accessories on for the vehicle. That's going to turn on the light bar. And then we're going to go through the startup sequence, on or off. They call it breathing. Then we'll do the turn signal patterns, the brake pattern, independent brake, and then the logo on or off, which is this guy right here. And you'll find that the logo actually goes to sleep when the truck actually goes to sleep. So if this stays on a little bit longer than you were expecting, that's by design. So you just had a preview to the startup sequence, but this is how you're going to program it. So you have 3 ground wires right here. They're spade connectors. You have a couple female and a male, and then you have your programming wires. So first, we want to put it into installation mode. So you'll see it's a male spade connector. Grab one of the female grounds, and then just temporarily connect them just while we do the programming. So now we are in programming mode. And you can see we are in the first option, which is your startup sequence. So it's showing that the breathing setting is on right now. So it's giving you an example of what that setting looks like. So next, we take the select wire and we find another ground at the female connector here. We have a male connector. And now when I tap this, so just briefly connect them, it moves it to the next option for the startup sequence, which in this case, according to the installation manual, is breathing off. But I happen to like the breathing, so I'm going to tap it again and turn it back on. So right now it's set in breathing mode on. Now if we want to advance to the next setting, we grab the wire that says advance, and then we tap it to a ground, and you can see we're in another setting mode, and it's for the signal lights. So it's showing the current setting, which is the chase setting, I believe. And on the settings here, we can choose from the pattern normal, chase, or scan. So because we're on the chase setting right now, if I go back to my select wire and I ground it temporarily, it will go to the next setting. So that is the next setting called scan. And then we have normal, so solid signal light. I actually like the chase setting, so we're gonna leave it in chase mode. Now we want to advance to the next setup stage. So we'll tap this quickly, and now you can see we have a different look over here, but that's giving us an example of the setting for the brake light mode. So now with the brake light, or the brake pattern, that is considered normal, but then we can do a triple pulse, which is the other option. So if I take the select wire and I ground it, you can see that that's how it would behave if we applied the brakes. I think I just like the solid pattern, but the triple flash is pretty cool for that extra visibility for those people that like to tailgate. Now we're going to advance it one more time and go to the independent brake setting. And the independent brake setting gives you two options. Either it's on or it's off. So enabled or disabled. So right now it's enabled, and right now it is disabled. With the trim level of this truck and the harness that we're using, keep the setting enabled because it will allow simultaneous brake and signal as well as timing to be improved. So we're going to put it back to enabled. So the last one to advance to would be the logo on or off. So that's what the logo looks like illuminated. And if we want to change it, that's how it would be off. I think we should leave it on. Now if we advance again, it's going to take us back to the beginning where we can set up the startup sequence, which is still on breathing. So if that's how we like everything, which it is, we simply unplug this. Now it's out of programming mode, and then we carefully tape these up and bundle all this wiring up in behind the bumper. Now if you had the remote connected, when you install it, and there are instructions that are included when you make this purchase. If you buy the auxiliary remote, it will show you how to hook it up properly so you can make some of these adjustments on the fly and not have to gain access to all of these wires. I don't think this is that big of a deal. I like these settings. I'm sure the owner of this truck will, so we're just going to tuck it all up here for safekeeping. So there's a few more things I want you to know about the Excalibur light bar before we take it outside and see it in all its glory. And yes, I know it's sunny out right now, but we'll get some footage for you even of the reverse lights in the sun as well as at dusk. First, this has been engineered to be DOT and SAE compliant, which means it's 100% street legal. It's IP69K rated, which means it's waterproof, dustproof, it will handle your pressure washing and even harsh weather. All of the electronics that we've installed are encapsulated, they're sealed for life, which means they'll stand up to some abuse. And you gotta love that it's backed by Putco's 3-year warranty, it's made in the USA, and it's fully patented, which means it's not a knockoff part. If you're looking to modernize your rear lighting without compromising on style or durability, then the Excalibur might just be your new favorite upgrade. You'll find a link to Putco's website in the video description below. So that being said, another successful completed install here on the Don's Life channel. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. Please consider subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time.